Flying Casual Thursday, April 12th. No, 13th. April. I'm in a day. I actually posted this on Patreon. There'll be a link on Patreon. It's supposed to go tomorrow. Hi, Pauline's in the chat. Someone who's normally in the chat is joining me right now. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We got Heidi, executive producer Heidi. Hey, Heidi, how you doing?
I have no makeup on, but other than that, I'm fine.
You're fine because we're gonna talk Mando.
Okay.
Mandalorian, Star Wars all around. It's flying casual. We're just gonna go casual today.
Well,
Very
I'm
low key.
casual, you're gonna find me. So.
Anybody has a comment in the chat, you bring it up, Heidi. Whatever. If you come up with a never tell me the odds like you like to do, we'll just bring that up. We're gonna do it. The way things are going is this week we're doing flying casual. Next week will be a never tell me the odds. The week after that is going to be an Unleashed, and we're going to rotate the shows like that. So every 2 weeks, all Patreon and channel members will get to join us live. If you choose to, you don't have to. It's a choice. You can. Hey, Dale, how's it going? Hope you're well.
Hi, Dale.
And
Pauline.
Heidi, did you watch any of the Star Wars Celebration panels, stuff that was live streamed over the weekend?
I watched some of it. I really didn't watch a lot of it. I work Saturday, so I don't really have a lot of free time. To be honest.
Yeah. And there's so much, like, those days are so jam-packed, and I actually didn't put my ear to the ground like I typically do because I've decided on a few things. One, as great as the panels are and things to watch are, I watched the Ahsoka trailer and all that stuff, but ultimately I'm watching, like, I'm gonna watch Mandalorian season 4, 5, 6, 7, Filoni's movie. I'm watching all that. So and for me, Celebration is more about the people there and the experience there. And I don't know, just watching at home, it just doesn't grab me like it used to. I think in 2015 when they did that one for The Force Awakens, that one I watched all that with the Chewie We're Home trailer. I watched a lot of that, but now I'm just not feeling like I'm as intrigued by it anymore. I feel like it's more of the experience of being there. I kind of look at Pauline just asked if I watched the panels. I watched pieces of the panels. I'm not all in on the panels like I used to be. So did you, like, you didn't go back and watch anything, Heidi? No, you're like, Star Wars.
You gotta remember, I was at Canada Expo this past summer, and I just sat at a booth the whole time. I didn't get to do anything fun. So.
Yeah, that's how it is. Disney's here in Animated Joy. Hello, everyone.
Hey, Disney.
It's true. There's a lot going on, but let's talk a little bit about Mandalorian now. Let's get right into the meat of the Mandalorian. People have been wishy-washy on this season. I've been on here kind of praising it the whole time like a jack, but what have you made of it? Let's not talk about this episode yet, but up until this episode, what did you make of the Mandalorian?
I think it's been great. I saw somebody. It was interesting. I saw somebody online refer to it as, or at least I think it was the third episode referred to it as the Mandalorian because it was more like Andor than the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Hey, Paula. Hey, Dale. I would say that maybe my least favorite episode was the one where they met Jack Black and Lizzo. I never heard of Lizzo. I've seen reactions to her. And I've never in my life heard of a famous flautist before. I have no idea who this woman is, and I couldn't name you any other famous flautist in the world. Maybe Kenny G, but he's more like a saxophone player. But I think it's been great. I mean, the first 2 weeks it appeared I had COVID, so I couldn't do much. So I just walked around the house going, "Bad baby," all day because I had nothing better to do.
That's a good thing to do all the time. I didn't know who Lizzo was either. Aaron kind of educated me after, but I didn't know. So I just I was like, Jack Black, Christopher Lloyd. And then the next day everyone's like, Lizzo. And I was like, can we talk about Jack Black and Christopher Lloyd? Because that's who I know. Because that's the only thing I know. I'm with you, though. I've liked this season up until now. But this most recent episode was shown at Star Wars Celebration. This is what I wanted to talk about a little. Because people coming out of it were saying that it was the best episode, possibly the best episode of Mando ever. I don't know how I feel yet, but I also wanted to bring up, because you're at Celebration, everything is heightened, right? Like
Right.
your experience is heightened, so everything you see and do is the best experience of your life. It's like if you go to a fan event screening of a movie, you could see the worst movie ever made, but chances are you might kind of enjoy it because they doll you up, they butter you up and all that. And so I feel like that kind of was a little bit into it. However, having said that, having now seen the episode, it was a really strong episode, I thought.
I would say it was one of the best and probably the best of the season. It's for me. It's gonna be hard to top episode 16, which was the season finale of season two.
Yes.
Um, but I thought it was a great episode. And let me clarify. I said last episode was my least favorite episode. I didn't say I hated it. I actually
Yeah.
liked it. I thought it was fun. But I would say it was my least favorite of the season. The season. Um, yeah. I mean, to be honest, I already heard a rumor about the mech suit, so I was kind of relieved because I was afraid it was going to look stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that was like the rumor dropped like a year ago, I think,
Yeah.
but the mech suit. I kind of forgot about it. Then I was like, oh, he's gonna go full crank from Ninja Turtles in there. I thought it worked out. I love the
Yeah.
no, no, yes, yes, and I know it's for laughs, but sometimes you need a laugh, and I was okay with it.
I'm wondering if he's going to get a lightsaber now. Maybe that's the whole reason of the suit, because, again, it'd be kind of hard for him to animate holding a lightsaber of some sort. So I don't know if that's the reasoning behind the suit or not, or.
I think it's just a way to get him moving and more mobile and being a little bit more part of the plot. We'll see, because he's kind of Grogu has taken a back seat this season in a lot of ways. Like he's
Right.
not front and center, but when he shows up for me, I don't know. I love Grogu. I love Din. I think they make a great team, and I know they've taken. You can argue they've taken a back seat this season, but I think people complaining about the season had no direction. I think the direction was it was a looser direction. I still think they have a firm grasp on this one, but it was more about the galaxy as opposed to being a more centered story on Din and Grogu, like the first two seasons were. This one is about Mandalorian and the galaxy as a whole. And I think that was lost on some people. And I think people, because the show was so intimate the first two seasons, it's hard to kind of reconnect that to that.
Well, I mean, the show's not called the Din Djarin show or the Pedro Pascal show. It's called the Mandalorian. So I think it's about Mandalorians in general. Um, but there's some rumor I heard that, like, the reason we got the Book of Boba Fett and the reason why there's so many subplots this season and why um, Din was reunited with Grogu in the Book of Boba Fett instead of season 3 was because they had to make up for losing Rangers of the New Republic, and a lot of the stories, like going to Coruscant and the whole Law and Order subplot, that was originally going to be like a Rangers Lost of the New Republic plot line. And I think so. I think they had to move some of the beginning of the Mandalorian into Book of Boba Fett, which is why he found, where we reconnect with Grogu and training with Luke. And then they got rid of that, and then some of the Rangers of the New Republic plot was put into season 3 of the Mandalorian. I don't know. This is just a rumor. I don't have any proof of this.
I've heard something along those lines as well. My thing with Rangers of the New Republic is I know it was made for Gina Carano, and they nixed her or whatever. But what I don't understand is like, okay, it was never really, other than that last little bit of that season. There's other characters that could have taken that load
Right.
from Gina Carano, right? Like the Cara Dune character, like you could have what's his name, Carson Teva. There's other characters that probably could have taken the lead on
Right.
that. In a lot of ways, you could create a new character. I think we'd all be like, we watched The Mandalorian not knowing who Din Djarin. We didn't even know his name until like the 7th or 8th episode.
Right.
Like, I think we'd be okay with it. So that's what confuses me about that is why wouldn't they still go through with that show?
Right.
Even if you lost your lead. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me that they would do all that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the whole point is they got to get to Ahsoka. They've got to lead up into Ahsoka. They got to tie everything together. And of course, I guess a rumor I've been hearing for years that's kind of confirmed is that they're going to do like a huge Mandoverse movie eventually. that's going to combine all the shows. But what's interesting is I think they said all TV shows, including Kenobi, is actually part of the Mandoverse.
Kenobi makes sense because it's Deborah Chow who is part of the
Right.
Mandoverse. You know what I was thinking today? I was going on a walk and I was thinking that people had problems with Book of Boba Fett, but it even stemmed from beyond the show, right? It was like, I mean, when Mando shows up, like, whose show is this? And so these are the shows that we've gotten on Disney Plus so far, and not animated, like live action shows that we've gotten on Disney Plus so far. We've gotten The Mandalorian, right? 3 seasons of The Mandalorian.
Right.
We've got the Book of Boba Fett. We've got an Obi-Wan Kenobi, and we're getting Ahsoka, and we got Andor. So of those, I mean, and then the only one that's different in title is Skeleton Crew. Every single show we've gotten has been named after a character in Star Wars. And
Right.
I was thinking while I was walking, and let me know what you think of this. Is that good? That might ultimately, and then look, The Mandalorian's a cool title and Obi-Wan, whatever, but it might ultimately be a mistake for Star Wars to just be about one character. Star Wars is this big universe, this big galaxy of stories. And when you name it just after one character, then audiences are like, it needs to be about that one character. And that might hinder the experience of the fans.
Right. Well, I've noticed that I think it's gone more away from the Jedi and more towards the Mandalorians as the main
Yeah.
characters of Star Wars.
I think Lucas and Filoni both loved Mandalorians. That was
Really?
becoming clear in Clone Wars, and then definitely in Rebels, at the end of Rebels, towards there.
Well, I heard Lucas likes Twi'leks.
Then he would have loved Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I've loved them all. I just think when you name it after a character, then fans go in expecting it to be solely about that character now.
Right.
And I think it's stronger. Like Rebels wasn't called Kanan and Jarrus, right? It was called
Right.
Rebels. So it allows you to like, oh, it's about this group of rebels, but then you can also have this character show up. And Hondo Anaka, who's gonna make his live action debut next week on The Mandalorian. Probably not.
I
But
hope.
you yeah, that would be amazing. But it allows you to
I
do
know Doug
more.
that.
It'd be phenomenal. But I think that was just something that I just thought of for the first time today. Like all of these shows have been named after characters,
Huh.
and then when you take away, like the Mandalorian, it's not Din Djarin, but the Mandalorian is Din Djarin. Like
Right.
that's who it was about ultimately at the beginning, right? And then when he passes the torch over to Bo-Katan this year, and Bo-Katan is kind of taking a lot of the lead of that. People are like, why is a Bo-Katan show? I think it's great. Like I love their dynamic, and I think we're seeing the Mandalorian people kind of unite through Din's eyes, and now
Right.
obviously more. And it's still his show. He's the one that got kidnapped at the end. He's the one
Right.
that got spoilers for episode 23. Did we say that off the top? Spoilers. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. But that's how I feel. I don't know. How would you rename any of these shows?
No.
The Book of Boba Fett would not be called the Book of Fennec Shand.
Maybe.
All right, let's talk about the upcoming episode now because let's talk about this episode that just happened and then we'll go into
Okay.
next week's episode. What were some of your highlights and some of your lowlights of this one?
Wow. I couldn't think of too many negatives. I loved. I did like the mecha suit. I call it Grogu's terrible 52s because I think he's 52 now.
I
But
won't lie.
I
I saw you tweet that before I saw the episode, and I
oh
immediately got off Twitter. Oh, and I just want to say one thing. Brock is working the Jays game right now. Shout out to Brock
okay.
working the Jays game. Look who's at the Jays game. It's Carson Teva himself is at the Jays game. Let me take off this background thing so you can see. Carson Teva is out. He'll probably get mad at me for sure. Maybe I shouldn't show that. Anyway, whatever. Carson Teva's at the Jays game. He'll be on TV. They're gonna put him on TV for sure. Yeah, I didn't have too many negatives on this episode at all. I thought it was phenomenal. I don't know if it was the best episode of all. It was probably the strongest of the season, but you kind of want that this far into the season, right? Like next week's episode should be the best episode of the season. I think it should work. I think the problem with the Jack Black Lizzo episode is that it happened so late in the season that you're expecting. But for me, I consider that like the calm before the storm episode. Like you get through this one, you're like, okay, this is a nice episode, and then we're going to move on.
Yeah, I mean, last week's episode was just a fun episode, but this one was definitely more serious. Well, this had its fun moments. Like, you can't see his face at all but you know exactly what he's thinking. I don't know
Yeah.
if Brendan Wayne's just good at projecting emotion behind an emotionless face, because when they're walking down the street and Grogu just keeps saying yes, 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 yes. So I mean, I could just I like I can sense what he's saying. I mean, what he's feeling, because you know he's just annoyed. Maybe it's because I'm annoyed. I don't know.
It's funny though because it's just a toy, but he feels real. Like there's times when you just kind of forget that it's a puppet, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm getting emotional about a puppet right now." It's like the client, what's his name? He was like Werner Herzog, who was like, "I'd
Right.
like to see the bit," and he was like, "You he wanted to hold Grogu in between takes."
Oh yeah, he treated it like he's a real actor.
Yeah, which I think a lot of the actors I've worked with them. I think Michael Caine did that with the Muppets when he did Muppet Christmas
Right.
Carol,
Right.
and he is phenomenal. And Disney does. He's asking if I know what team is still undefeated in Major League Baseball, and I refuse to answer any questions about sports that she brings up. We're actually enemies now.
Oh,
Once
okay.
this time every year, it feels like Disney Desi and I are mortal enemies for a week, and then the
Okay.
Lightning beat the Leafs, and we don't
Uh,
talk anymore. Yeah, we move on. This is sports talk. So,
I guess I'm a Phillies fan. I live an hour north of Philadelphia. So.
and the Phillies were defeated by the Blue Jays in the World Series
Oh, okay.
recently. Anyway, this episode had two of my favorite things. My favorite character in Mandalorian since season one has been Heavy, Paz Vizsla. He's been my favorite. I got his
Right.
Funko Pop. Big fan
I think you
all
mean
season.
past Vizsla.
Paz, what I say?
No,
Pause.
I'm saying past
Um,
Vizsla. Does he pass?
I he's stacked Vizsla. So I was big fan of his. And in the Last Jedi, my favorite thing in the sequel trilogy were the Praetorian Guards. All over the sequel trilogy, love them
Right.
all. And they were name dropped at the beginning of this
Right.
episode, and then they played out at the end of the episode, and they killed my boy Heavy
Right.
in dramatic fashion. Heavy got his moment, voiced by Jon Favreau. He got his moment, and then he got slain by the Praetorian Guards. I text Brock and said that scene was written for me because Jon Favreau listens to the Rebel Scum
Right.
podcast, and he knows that my two favorite things are Praetorian Guards and Heavy, and he put them in a scene together. And I thought they fit in. I thought their entrance was wonderful. I thought they fit into the episode brilliant. I loved also the Beskar troopers that we got before that. But what did you think of the retconning of the sequel trilogy with the Praetorian Guards showing up in this episode?
How are they retcon? I think they just showed how impressive the fight really was between the patrolling guard, you know, the guards and I have trouble saying that word.
Heavy?
No, but the fight between the Praetorian guards and Kylo Ren and Rey,
Oh
because
yeah.
I think that just showed. I mean, that just made the struggle more intense, realizing how dangerous they truly were. Because I think a lot of people were disappointed that they weren't fighting Sith or Dark Jedi. So I think it makes that scene in The Last Jedi more intense when you realize how difficult the fight actually was. And
I
then
think you're right. Sorry, go on.
I'm sorry.
No, go on.
No, I mean, I was just gonna say there were a lot of callbacks in general to the sequel trilogy, like Armitage Hux, Hux's dad, okay,
Brendel. Yeah.
Brindle. He was not only in it, but he was played by the brother of
Yeah.
the actor who plays Hux in the films.
Yep.
So that's why they look so much alike, because it's actually his brother in real life.
It was well done, and they're smart about it. And I loved it because also the one thing that always annoyed me with Disney Star Wars sounds like a dirty word. The one thing that did annoy me though, honestly, and I think I've said this before, is when they first come out, they're like Legends. The EU is now Legends, and I was okay with that. I'm like, fine, you're doing your own thing, do it. But then they released all these books and they said everything's going to connect. And I read the Aftermath books, and Andrew and I did a video, and it was like, oh, this book's going to. These we thought those books were leading to Palpatine, which is kind of why I think I was okay. I mean, I would have liked a better explanation than the none that we got, but I was kind of okay with Palpatine coming back in the sequels because of these stupid books that I spent money on and
Right.
read, because they were leading towards that, and then it kind of went nowhere. So what I was getting at though is like the one thing that I always hated was that the books never really felt like there was any real connective tissue, especially the aftermath ones. Like they had all
Mhm.
these little things, and finally, like these shows are starting to kind of pick elements out of those aftermath books, and I was so happy to see that happen. We're still missing Ray Sloan. That's fine, she's out there somewhere, but at least we're getting some acknowledgement of those books. Like obviously we got Cobb Vanth a couple last season. Things are like the books are starting to be something that I'm glad I read now.
Okay. I didn't read them. Sorry.
Well, no, but I think if you haven't read them, that the way I feel they're doing the elements of the novels and Clone Wars and Rebels is, if you haven't read or seen those, you it's just another added layer to what I know versus what you know, but it's not necessarily taking away from the moment, the scene of in question. Like you still have an appreciation for it. I just know a little bit more about the backstory, which is inconsequential to the Mandalorian.
Right. I mean, I just like good storytelling. Um, I mean, some of the problems I have with sequels, the problem I have with sequels is, I remember when you're in school and the teacher would pass, you start a story, and you knew how you wanted it to go, and the teacher said, "Okay, 15 minutes are up. Pass your story back to the next person," and you would get another one. It'd be a round robin. And by the time you got your story back, it was completely different than
Yeah.
what you were expected, and it's just that's what I kind of got with the sequels. I kind of wish, Ryan Johnson had done, even though there was a lot of hate. I wish he had done episode 9 instead of
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams, because I would. There were a lot of things in episode 8 I would have liked to have seen finished, and they were just completely dropped.
Definitely got the feeling that even though they said they liked what each other did, you definitely get the sense that they didn't like what each other did
Right.
when you watch those movies. There's clearly a disconnect, and the Rise of Skywalker feels more like a sequel to The Force Awakens than it is a sequel to The Last Jedi.
Right.
Like it almost is like, yeah, that stuff happened, but remember that story thread? We're gonna kind of touch on, like, that's how it kind of felt. I agree with you. It was very uneven, and and as much as, and don't forget, Ryan Johnson declined it before The Last Jedi came out. I still think, for all the hate that he gets and everything, yeah, I think it would have been a lot stronger had he be the one to finish it, because we could see what was going through his head for a lot of the decisions that he made, and some of the decisions that worked and some that people have problems with might have been able to be fleshed out and discussed a little bit more. Maybe people would appreciate those decisions.
Like I said, I'm a and you know I know Dizzy agrees with me, and she can attest to this. I myself was a huge fan of Raylo, although I wouldn't have stopped. Like if Raylo hadn't come to fruition, I still would have enjoyed the movie. Um, I can't speak for her. I assume she's just a Star Wars fan in general. But I think Raylo for J.J. Abrams was more ambiguous. As for Ryan
Yeah.
Johnson, I think he was like 100% on board with it. So I think the relationship is definitely more intense in Last Jedi than it is in Rise of Skywalker or Force Awakens. Although it's there, it's not as intense of a story. Um,
Well, Ryan Johnson also said that the Force Skype hand touching was the closest thing we'd get to sex in Star Wars.
until Andor.
Fast forward to Andor, exactly, and then Andor was like, "We see your hand touching, and we'll have morning." Yeah, Andor
But,
Andor pushed the boundaries on that one, but Andor can get away with it because it was definitely more of an adult geared show.
right. I mean, J.J. Abrams was the guy who created Lost. He had no idea where it was going.
Yeah, that's that. I think that's because the Force Awakens, like I like to call it like the donut because it's a lot of fun, but I do think a lot of the problems with the sequel trilogy stem from the indecisiveness of the Force Awakens. How it never really, it didn't, it just kind of left things almost too open. And the
Right.
thing with Star Wars is because we always think of the twist of Luke, I am your father,
Right.
but in the New Hope, it's not even a thought, right? Like, you're not like, who is Luke? Like, it doesn't really matter. You don't care. That's why it's such a shock. And I think people forget about that because it's like we gotta have the shock, and then they give you too many clues, and it doesn't really matter.
Right. But if that was made today, they'd be hating it. So
Oh,
I mean, be all
I
over the
mean,
internet how stupid the idea was.
it's it's funny because I was also thinking about how if you like Star Wars, you're a shill.
Yeah.
But if you actually think about it, disliking it makes you more of a shill because you're actually making more money by not
Right.
liking Star Wars than by liking Star Wars, and that's rare. All right, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about what's coming up in Mandalorian now. Like this episode set a lot up. Din is kidnapped. The Mandalorians have to escape out the tunnel. The armorer, the armorer going back to the ship. Now people are saying that she might be the episode was called The Spies.
Spies, right?
Some people are suspecting that she is a spy. I, I don't really disagree. However, that moment when she was walking to the ship and she was walking in, the music was very ominous. It was, you know what it reminded me of? A pig going to the slaughter almost.
Right.
Like that's kind of the vibe that I got. I wasn't thinking at that moment she was afterwards more so, but in that moment I wasn't thinking she was a spy. I thought she was walking into the trap. What did you make of that moment?
There's two possible spies. There has to be a spy. Well, first, like you said, the title's spies, so there's more than one spy. There's more than just Kane. Second of all, there's another spy because someone had to tell Moff Gideon that Bo-Katan had the dark saber again. Because as far as he knew, the last person with the dark saber was Din Djarin.
Yeah.
So there has to be somebody else besides her who told him that Bo-Katan had the dark saber. What else? What was I trying to say? Another possible spy might be Axe Woves.
Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as they started fighting, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go back to the ship." So I wondered about that. Like, is he going to join Moff Gideon? I mean, they could both be in on it. Either one could be on it. Neither one could be on it. The spy could just be one of the Mandalorian survivors on the planet. You never know. Well, no, because they wouldn't have known her. Well, whatever. I don't know. Maybe the spy's Grogu. Who knows?
We got a nice. This Grogu's the spy. You take that back.
I'm kidding.
Automated Joy coming in with this one. She might be the armorer she's referring to, might be the spy. The stormtroopers knew Mando and company were using the lava river to escape the end of season 1. She told them to take that. I'm not 100% convinced, though. Very interesting there. I forgot about that. The armorer is the one who kind of sets everybody on their path. So, she's got the horns. She's got the horns.
And also, like before in the season, when Din goes to visit Bo in the castle, she says to him, "Where was your cult when we were under attack?" The armor says that we were safely hiding on the moon of Concordia. Why were they left alone? Did they make a deal with Moff Gideon? And maybe her job is just to keep them separated.
Oh.
Make sure that they don't reform. Make sure that there is hate. And when she realized she failed at that, so she said, "Okay, we're going to come together and just lead them to the slaughter."
And Dale brings up the Axe Woes does in the middle or at the end of season 2. He's the one that isn't around, and
Right.
everyone said there's a reason. There's a reason he's not there. So Axe Woes is where I'm heading. There's another where I'm heading as well. Pauline's asking, why did Moff want Din? I've been thinking about that. And I
have
can't.
two theories.
Oh, right. I want to hear them because I have none.
One, the armor, his Beskar armor, that was the stuff that was melted down from the Imperial armor when he dropped off Grogu.
Mm.
So Moff might think, he want. Well, they want Beskar anyway, but
yeah,
he didn't finish. He went back and recaptured Grogu, so he didn't finish the job. And he might just want his armor back. They might just want to completely strip him of his armor because he may think that's his armor because, well, he wants Beskar armor to begin with, and and like I said, he may think that's belonged to him because he went back and got Grogu. Another thing is he wants the best Mandalorians. Maybe he wants to convert Din over to his cause.
Oh, that would be that would be a very villain thing to do. Right? Like the villain always takes a hero and be like, we should join each other and we could rule the galaxy as Mando and Moff. And Anime Joy thinks that Moff might be a Mandalorian. What do you think of that?
I mean, he's at least obsessed with him. He's a cosplayer at least. Maybe he was part of the Imperial because there was a group of Mandalorians who were Imperial loyalists, so he may be part of that sect. I don't know.
And Disney saying that Moff thinks that Din might have the dark saber still. Doesn't know that Bo has it. Maybe, but they also disarm Din. If you remember, they disarm him. So
well, because he asked for it back and she didn't. She went instead of getting it back. He asked for her to give it back to him. He said, "If you give me back the dark saber, I'll release everyone."
Yes, that's right.
And she cut open the door instead. So I don't think he wanted to kill Grogu. I think he wanted Grogu to be his dark apprentice or something. I don't know if he still wants him because it sounds like he tried to kill him this last time, unless he didn't recognize him in the mecha suit. I don't know.
Dillerman saying that the troopers that were in the new armor were described as clones in an interpretation. I don't know what language. I heard that too. That they were described as clones. And you know me, I love clones. I love those stormtroopers. I love all stormtroopers, but Beskar troopers were topping my list of awesome looking troopers. I was very happy with I'm always happy. More troopers the better, I feel.
Well, also the uniforms, if you notice, look more first order than original.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're moving up that ladder and getting there. I gotta be honest with you. There's gonna be a video dropping later tonight. I think it's gonna be probably midnight, but it's gonna come out where I don't trust Bo-Katan.
Oh, really?
I don't trust Bo-Katan. There's a few reasons. I'll say them here, but here's the thing. There was I don't want to say too much because I don't want to go into speculation that might be accurate. You know what I mean? I don't want to ruin the last episode. Not that I have any insider information. Right. I do. George Lucas called me and he said, "I don't know what's going on, James. I'm not work there anymore." But I don't trust Bo-Katan. Okay. And let's just say this. She gave a sob story about how Moff Gideon got the Darksaber to begin with. Okay? A lie. And then, like you said, they're all in there, and Moff Gideon says, "Give me the Darksaber, let everyone leave." And what does she do? She cuts the door to go out the other way, where there'll be either an ambush waiting for them, or they're going to go back to the ships where there's an ambush waiting for them. Like either way, she's taking them back to an ambush. And I don't entirely trust. There's more reasons that, but I don't entirely trust Bo-Katan. So I wouldn't be surprised if one of the spies, is Bo-Katan.
Well, I don't know. She's got that matching headband with Ahsoka. Some people speculate that those are actually communication devices where they can talk to each other. Maybe she's gonna call Ahsoka for help.
That kind of be cool. I think Bo-Katan and I think Axe Woves are both in cahoots. Also, because anyway, there's more things coming up, but I don't trust Bo-Katan. I might be wrong, but I really don't trust Bo-Katan at this point.
I mean, the other thing is you've got Grogu sitting in her lap.
I'm not saying she's a bad person. I just think she has an agenda.
Yeah. Well, all I know is they're the latest ship couple.
That's gonna. I mean, that. No, I think anyway. I don't. I don't have faith in Bo-Katan staying on the good side.
Okay. I mean, last year it was Din and Timothy Oliphant. This year it's Din.
Okay, who is making an appearance in next week's episode? Are we getting Boba Fett? Are we getting Fennec Shan? Are we getting Fen Rao? Are we getting any other Mandalorians? Are we getting Cobb Vanth? Who are we getting? Hondo? Who is showing up next week on the finale of The Mandalorian? You know, someone big is coming.
I'm gonna say Boba Fett because at least I'm hoping for Luke, but that might not be enough time because there's only one episode left. I mean, what I'd like to see, I don't know if you can cram it all into one episode. I mean, we're all assuming Din's gonna be rescued. He might not be. He might not be rescued till season 4.
On Solo and Carbonite.
I mean, who knows? Because I don't know if there's enough time to rescue him. I mean, I don't think we're getting another Grogu flashback till next season.
If you turn on, do you wake up early to watch the episodes? Or
yes.
Do you watch them? Okay, if you wake up early to watch the episode on Wednesday, you're like, wait, Automated Joy just won Ben Quadinaros. Yes, he's gonna show up and save the day in a pod racer, and then I'm gonna fly off after. But let's say, okay, you wake up 3 a.m., 4 a.m., whatever it is. You wake up to watch Mandalorian. You're all excited, and you turn on Disney Plus, and it's 27 minutes. How? What will be your first reaction to that?
Well, I mean, this episode was 50 minutes, and it seemed like 15 minutes. So I don't know. It's gonna be a very short episode.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack. This week was a long. We've had two. I don't know how. I think this was around 50 minutes this week, right? We've had two fairly long episodes. And
the last one was the one that was only like the 10 minutes worth with the Mandalorians, and the other 40 were on Coruscant. So this was different. This was the entire 50 minutes spent within company.
But that Coruscant episode proved to be a very important episode.
I'm not saying it isn't, but I'm saying that was broken up into two different storylines. This one was a complete storyline.
Yeah, this was all. And it makes sense because we're wrapping up, right? But we did go to Kane for a little bit at the beginning with the probe droid. How awesome was that? Prodrome coming out of Coruscant in the rain was phenomenal. Phenomenal aesthetics to that. Here we go. Dale's saying that Ahsoka would be good lead into her series. Thrawn hologram would work too. Pauline's also saying Ahsoka, and Disney Desi is the correct answer with Hondo as always. It's always Hondo.
What I would want to see is probably what they're saving for this Mando movie that's coming out. So I would love for like Luke to show up and Boba Fett. I would love a meeting between Luke and Boba Fett. See how that would go. That might be an interesting conversation.
I think I do think we've been told so much going into the Mandalorian finale, and I think we'd have to temper our expectations on quite a bit because. Like we shouldn't be like, oh, I hope this character shows up. Well, if they don't be disappointed. Like I think we're gonna have to take it for what it is. So I go into it assuming no one's showing up, and then I get Christopher Lloyd, Jack Black, and my favorite artist of all time, Lizzo. I will own a Lizzo album because of them. I still don't know what those.
Maybe Jack Black will show up and sing Peaches. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, what a week he had. But like those characters could potentially show up. Like you said, Grogu was knighted. Was that for a reason? It has to be for a reason. It might not be this season. It might play out next season. I think what this season also shows, though, season 3, is that Rebels was the same, that there are no real filler episodes. When you feel like an episode is going nowhere, there's a purpose to it. I think that mythosaur that we saw in the first episode, that's coming back in a big way in the last episode. And I was thinking it might be Bo-Katan riding it, but now it might be Din. We might get back to Din. It could be Boba Fett. We might go full circle back to the very first person to ride a mythosaur that we've seen being Boba Fett. Do you think someone's going to ride a mythosaur? And if so, who?
I don't know. I think it's either going to be Din or it's either going to be Din and or Bo with Grogu.
Bo with Grogu.
It's either going to be Din or Bo or the both of them, but whoever it is, if it's both of them or just one of them, they're going to have Grogu with them because Grogu's going to have to control it. But I have a theory about the mythosaur. I don't know if I want to save it for Never Tell Me the Odds.
Well, Never Tell Me the Odds will probably be after the last episode. So if you want to go for it, we could do a flying casual Never Tell Me the Odds right now.
Okay, what are the odds that the mythosaur was cloned by Moff Gideon? Like they cloned the Zillo Beast in the Bad Batch. Or you didn't see the Bad Batch?
I haven't seen it. Thanks for ruining it. No, I'm going to binge the Bad Batch. That's what I'm going to binge.
I'm sorry. I forgot.
No, it's okay. I ever since Attack of the Clones, I've learned to like not let. I don't like hearing spoilers, but I don't let them ruin my experience anymore.
Okay.
That's one
I
thing. Ever
forgot.
since Attack of the Clones,
I forgot you.
um,
And
but I know that Tech dies, so we're it's okay. I go on Twitter, and you can't escape. I'm, you can't escape. You can't escape it. Ooh, that's a. You know, that could be. I'm gonna go 61%. How about that? 61.239%. What do you think?
I'm gonna be a coward and go full Brock.
Full Brock's my favorite. It's the easiest way out.
Like
Dale,
the right when you vote one over the lowest number.
does anyone think the droid armor will help out the Mandalorians? That's a good question there, Pauline. That's that. I mean, I think that episode at some point in the series is going to come out to play. I don't know if it's going to be next week though, because I'm not sure how they would know that the Mandalorians are in danger just yet. But they might. They might. There might be somebody might signal something and it might go out, and Carson Teva might let everyone know he's coming back. Obviously, Disney wants Grogu on a mythosaur wielding the dark saber, and that Funko Pop is a collector's item right there. Dale knows who rides the mythosaur, and Grogu will be in the mech suit still. And what are the odds we'll see baby Armitage Hux? Well, baby Yoda, baby Mario, Luigi, baby Sonic. Bring on baby Hux.
See, what I would kind of like to see is the dark saber get destroyed, and then Grogu making his own dark saber.
Grogu makes a dark saber because he's a Mandalorian.
Right.
Interesting. I don't have a problem
Actually,
with that.
I would have loved it if episode 3-7 had been like, and probably people are gonna get mad and completely disagree with me, but did what they did at the Last Jedi, where she's like Bo's still holding the dark saber and she just turns it off and just throws it over her shoulder. I would have thought that was great. Because there is a theory out there that it's actually cursed because it doesn't actually unite Mandalorians; it actually divides them.
Yeah, very true. That's actually not a bad theory.
That's not my theory. I'm not gonna take credit.
But yeah, no, but everything in Mandalorian is cursed. The planet's cursed. The dark saber's cursed. I like what Automated Joy said. I like that Moff Gideon could be Mandalorian. That thought never even crossed my mind. Never even crossed my mind. And now that's all I'm going to think about until next week, at least. It's just that Moff Gideon's an evil Mandalorian who played it. Vermont Mike's here. Let's I don't want to go too much into next week because I kind of want to just go into it fun.
Okay.
Let's talk about let's before we wrap it up, let's talk a little bit about this is Disney Desi's favorite topic, the new Rey Skywalker film that's coming. And I just want to say, I'm going to look at the viewers drop when I say this. I hope that in no way, shape, and form Ben Solo shows up. I'm just everyone.
You better stay out of Florida.
The stream just ended. It just cut down. Spoiler discussion, like yeah. Well, we moved on from there right now. But okay, no. So the Rey Skywalker movie's coming. Whether you like it or not, I kind of like the idea though that she's going to rebuild the Jedi Order. Like I feel like there's a lot of story you can do moving past the sequel trilogy, moving into it. So I'm excited about that. How about you? Like when you first heard about it, were you excited about it?
Yes. I am definitely looking forward to it. I like the character. It'd be interesting where they could go with it. I wouldn't mind Ben Solo at least coming back as a Force ghost, maybe to guide her.
I'm with you. I'm actually with you, and I think it's important that Ben Solo shows up. However, so I've heard a few things. I have heard that they are trying to get Ben Solo, working a way to get Ben Solo back into Star Wars. But I've also heard, like Kathleen Kennedy said this at Celebration, somebody asked about Luke Skywalker, which I think I honestly, I don't know if I'm alone in this, but I am fine with leaving Luke be. Like, just like he's done the Skywalker saga, which I think was a mistake calling it that. The Skywalker saga is done. We put it to rest. Let's move on with Rey, who is a Skywalker, but we move on, and it's not her journey anymore. She is a part of somebody else's journey coming forward. However, Kathleen Kennedy, when she was asked about Luke Skywalker, she says, I don't really think we're going to deal with Force ghosts much. And I thought that was, I didn't like that comment, to
Right.
be honest with you, because I thought it was dumb. And I mean, not that it has to be Luke, but I mean, Force Ghosts have been around since Empire Strikes Back. And we had Force Voice in New Hope, but Empire, like, that's a part of Star Wars is the Force Ghost. We got Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. And I thought it was kind of dumb in the way that she was a dyad with Ben Solo.
Right.
And if you're not going to work that in, even on like the smallest scale, I feel like that has to be a part of rebuilding the Jedi Order. Like the dyad has to be a part of it. And Ben Solo, even if it's really small, has to make some kind of an appearance.
Yeah, I guess you could do the world. I mean, one way around that would be the world between worlds.
Yeah. I think they'll stay. I think Star Wars is going to steer clear of the world between worlds a lot. And I honestly, I know what you're saying. I fear the world between worlds though, because it could be used as a crutch.
Right.
Right? Like Star Trek, whenever they're in a bind, like time travel, and you're like, oh god, like Harry Potter, they're like time travel. It's like really like it's just such a crutch, and I think you have to be very careful with how you use the world between worlds. And I thought it was used all right the first time, but you have to be very, very careful with. For me, anyway, that's how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, it could just be a red herring.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't trust what they say because they want to mislead you.
Yeah, with all the reports and everything coming out, they should. Disney saying she'd be fine with Ray barely in it. I don't think Ray's the main character of this story. I think they even said that it's featuring Ray. I didn't watch the whole panel. I watched the clips of it. And I think the host, sorry, it says it's featuring Ray, and Daisy Ridley comes out. So I think she's gonna play like a side character, like almost like probably like Obi-Wan in A New Hope, but not obviously that old or anything. But like be a supporting character for the new cast, the new kids that are going to take a helm, and they're going to move away from the Skywalker saga.
But I mean, maybe it's about Finn. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's about Ragnar. I mean, maybe Ragnar's a Jedi because he's part of the. He's a descendant of the first Mandalore, so maybe the Force runs through that family. I'm just wondering who's going to adopt Ragnar. No,
Yeah, that was when he died. I turned to him like he has a son, but like here's the question: like, is that? I mean, that he could be he could be Boba Fett, like coming for like remember Jango Fett,
right.
and then Ragnar could be like that, where he's like, my dad died, I have to do this. He's the one that comes to save the day in the end. It's him.
I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. Maybe it's going to turn out they're Force sensitive because they're descended from the first Mandalore.
And Disney wants Jon Favreau to play older Ragnar.
Speaking of that, I would love to see Daniel Logan play a young Boba Fett because he actually looks like a young Tamara Morrison.
Yeah, like the younger, like, yeah, I would be down for that as well. I love Book of Boba Fett, and I know that they probably won't do a season 2, and it looks like they won't do a season 2 of Kenobi. But I think if you went, yeah, no, but if you went back further, you did the badass Boba Fett that fans. Okay. What's your opinion on Boba Fett? If you went back though and you gave the badass version of Boba Fett, I think it could be fun. And then I thought the Book of Boba Fett was exactly what it needed to be. And now you could tell a story where Boba Fett does what all the fans want him to do.
I mean, I liked it before Din showed up. I mean, when I last year, when my sister's husband went out of town, she had me stay with her for the weekend, and she didn't really want to see the Book of Boba Fett because she didn't like the character.
Yeah.
I said, well, you gotta watch the last 3 episodes. So she watched the last 3 episodes because it was all about because she loved the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest with you. I mean, even up till then, before I realized Mando was going to be back in it, that I loved the show. I thought it was good. Like everybody hated the the flashbacks, but I found them really interesting.
I thought that was the show. Like the show felt like it was the flashbacks, and like it didn't feel like they were flashbacks. It felt like that was the show, and this half was the other half of the show. And that cat's name is Hondo. I'm Hondo.
If I get another cat, I'm gonna name it Grogu. Oh, so that's a nice shot. Okay. Okay. He doesn't care. Yeah, this is great when the Face ID pops up.
Amazing. I remember a few years ago we did a top 5 Star Wars pet names, and I always said I would name my number one was if I had a cat, I'd call the cat Kit Fisto. And now I have a cat, and my cat's name is not Kit Fisto. Because, well, to be honest, we weren't planning on keeping the cat. We found the cat on the side of the road.
Right.
It was a little kitten like the size of my hand. And now we have the cat, and the cat's name is Dusty Rose because we're original people. I regret not calling her Kit Fisto.
I don't know how you got a Russian blue. Those aren't cheap.
That's what I have?
Yeah.
I don't know. We went. This is not Star Wars, but we went and there was like a whole like litter like of kittens.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, and we gave them water. Then the next day we went back and there was only one left, and it was the one that we have now, and she wouldn't let us go. So I don't know. They're not cheap, but they're not cheap to maintain either because she is a little brat. I'll tell you that.
Well, this one eats a lot.
So does mine, and she's tiny still. She's annoying. All right. Final predictions for next week's Mandalorian. What do you got?
Oh boy, I have no idea. I think at least Boba Fett's gonna show up. Maybe Ahsoka. Maybe I don't know. Maybe Grogu will reach out to the Force and able to contact Luke. I think that would be pretty cool. But I don't know if there's enough time to do that. Like I said, there might be a possibility that they're not even going to rescue him then this season. They might have to wait till next season. But if there's one thing that I'm 99% sure of, if we do get Thrawn, it's not going to be until an end credit scene.
Yeah, I'm okay with no Thrawn. We're getting Thrawn and Ahsoka. That's fine. The final prediction for Disney is there will be Mandalorians. I don't know if they're going to bring Luke back. We got Luke twice now already. I feel like he might be done with this show. And if you keep going to the Luke well, does that get like but someone's got to come, whether it's but I don't know how they go either, but I feel like Boba Fett's going to make an appearance in this episode. And I mean, Ahsoka would be the likely one, but I will say I think it was Lauren Romo on Twitter said the Ghost Crew shows up at the end. Like that was like her thought, and I was like, all right. I don't know how they find out about it, but I'm always in for cameos like that. But we'll see. It's got to make sense, and I'm fine too if Din doesn't get rescued at the end of this. I'm kind of okay with a dark cliffhanger getting us to the next season. I'm okay with that.
Well, I would think what might be neat, and this is I had heard about the casting of Doc Brown. Blocking his name.
Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd. I thought maybe he was gonna be like the Force ghost of was it Pre-Vizsla or was that?
One of them, yeah.
The original Mandalore.
Yeah.
I thought maybe that was gonna be a Force ghost of the original Mandalorian Jedi who was gonna speak to Grogu or something.
That would have been interesting. Well, he wasn't. He was a separatist, which I like that, and I like the Count Dooku nod as well. All right, Heidi, we're going to wrap it up. This has been a great chat in the live chat. Great talking with you today, too. It's been fun flying casual with you. Do you want to plug a book or anything? Tar Vizsla. It was Tar Vizsla.
Tar Vizsla. I know Tar Vizsla, Pre-Vizsla, and
yeah, they're all
I like to call Past Vizsla.
They're all.
He's in the past.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you want to check out my books, just let's go to Amazon.com. My name, Heidi Fetter.
They're all there.
They're all there, and don't get them for your kid.
I got one for Selena, so she's going to read that soon. I'll read it to her tonight. All right, good night, everybody. May the Force, whatever. Thanks, Heidi. This has been a lot of fun. We'll do this more often. It was great talking with you, flying casual. Just whatever we talk about. It's always a good time. And now I'm going to check this out. Play some music. Can't beat when music plays. That's when you know it's time to say goodbye to everybody. The cat doesn't want to go. The cat is like, no, this is the show. I thoroughly enjoy The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with admitting that because I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm hoping that we get some fun cameos next week, but if we don't, we don't. Just don't overthink it. Don't be disappointed. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you smashed the like button, and I hope that you have a great night. May the force of others be with you.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.